Welcome back to Starter Pack. All right, so OpenAI's Sam Altman just admitted that they've, quote, been on the wrong side of history about model weights. Now that's huge. The tech giants are scrambling to change course because DeepSeek has really ruffled everybody's feathers over the last 2 weeks. But here's the twist. DeepSeek's story isn't quite as clean as they want us to believe. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff in 25 years in tech, and I know that something's changing the game, and we've definitely seen things shake up a bit over the last 2 weeks. AI hasn't going away, but it's definitely gotten pretty messy over the last couple weeks. And I don't think we're seeing, and we're going to see some changes here. So let's dive into this a little bit here today, because it's great to see Sam Altman admit wrong. Like, that's a first. But like, let's dive into this a little bit. All right, welcome back to Starter Pack. I'm Spencer Thomason, and here at Starter Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so DeepSeek is a company that has definitely been shaking up the AI world over the last few weeks, and they've been pushing OpenAI, Meta, and Google to rethink their strategies a little bit. We know that Meta definitely did some war rooms, and I think everybody has definitely done their share of work behind closed doors. And OpenAI came out and released some new models. Definitely was trying to respond to DeepSeek really quick. But here's kind of the twist. DeepSeek's cheap and powerful AI models are really good. Like, they're good. You can't really argue with the benchmarks, but they definitely weren't transparent as to all their costs. They claim that they were $5.6 million in their cost of training. However, it's come out, and I'm going to dive into it a little bit, that really they've been hiding the true cost of their hardware and their trading, not to mention a lot of their employee resources and a lot of other things. But guess what? Sam Altman himself has admitted that OpenAI needs to embrace some of DeepSeek's approaches, both with the way they're training their models, as well as also with their openness to release to open source a lot of their models. Now, is DeepSeek really the hero of the AI revolution, or is there just a lot of saber rattling and some really clever chess games going on here? So one of the very first things that I want to dive into is something that we can definitely mark, as a point in time here to say, hey, look, Sam Altman actually admitted that he's wrong, right? So let's take advantage of this for a minute here, because this doesn't happen super often. But OpenAI Sam Altman says we've been on the wrong side of history. OpenAI could be more open, and it's not just open source advocates who think that. Recent comments suggest their CEO also thinks so as well. And he thinks that they need to be a lot more collaborative, right? And I agree with this. I think there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I actually haven't really loved OpenAI as a approach to the way they're doing this for a long time. So they definitely followed up with a few days later and with a blow to OpenAI's DALL-E with their generator, right? They released, DeepSeek released the Janus Pro image generator. So they definitely did a whole 1-2 shot to OpenAI, and it definitely really has hurt. And one of the big losses here has been NVIDIA, which is funny because it turns out, as we look into here, is that DeepSeek actually did end up spending $500 million on a lot of hardware. So they actually were buying a bunch of NVIDIA chips, which is really kind of comical given that NVIDIA took a $600 billion bath when DeepSeek released their model and then said they used older chips for it, right? So it's kind of interesting to see that a lot of this didn't really quite come out exactly as people were saying, right? Because really, they were saying that they only spent $5.6 million to train this, but really when it breaks it down, and this person did a really great write-up here, this author did a great write-up of some of this, but I've seen this on a lot of different reports. Their GPU cost alone on 50,000 NVIDIA H100s is about $1.5 billion. So that whole $5.6 billion might have been the electricity they spent to train these models. But even then, they aren't even talking about the $200 million they're paying on labor for research. So this number really is closer to, they're coming to find is going to be closer to, I've seen both 1.5 billion and all the way up to as high as $2.4 billion. So, there's a lot of, and these leaked reports are really saying that, hey, look, there's no way that they did this. And the H100 price, and it really hit a lot of different things. So definitely interesting things here with a lot of this, to see, but it's interesting how this is then really shaken up the market to cause a lot of hit to both NVIDIA, to watch Meta scramble, to watch OpenAI scramble, Google then to release their Google 2.0 Flash, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about tomorrow. But we've seen this hardware requirement is really vastly understated. And the energy cost is also hidden from the public view, not to mention the infrastructure cost. So ultimately, DeepSeek was really telling some pretty big fibs here. But this is a game of chess, right? This is a corporate game of chess. Now, how much of this is also an international game of chess? We won't get into some of the geopolitics of that, but it's definitely hit the market, and we've seen a big market shift, right? And so DeepSeek's app jumped to popularity, and now suddenly we've got a lot of people scrambling because they're like, wait a minute, this makes us really rethink AI. And there's a lot of people who've kind of taken this pause and to think and to shift on AI. Now, if your company is getting paused because you're just not working that efficiently, because your systems aren't connected, hit us up, because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems so your company can work like a well-oiled machine. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer because we can help you out. Now, part of this shift is that the US is moving really quick to try to ban DeepSeek, right? Because the whole fear of TikTok stealing our data, and which I'm definitely a proponent. Like, I don't think TikTok should. I would love to get rid of TikTok, but so now DeepSeek is a new thing, a new way for China to be able to come and steal all of our data, right? And that's a very overly simplified statement, and I recognize that. But needless to say, there's a bunch of security concerns when you've got employees in the Pentagon using DeepSeek to seek out, what's the best way to arrange this array of missiles, right? I'm joking somewhat here, but my point is that we've definitely got to make sure that there's some guardrails on what information is coming from government agencies into DeepSeek, right? So there's a lot of data privacy concerns, and we definitely need to make sure that this trust is real. Now, one of the things I do love about DeepSeek is you can take those models and download them, run them on your own servers, and it's really easy to see that model then is not actually transmitting that data overseas. So there is a way to use DeepSeek responsibly, but opening up and typing deepseek.com and pumping a bunch of government information is not that way to use it responsibly, right? So there's definitely some data security concerns coming here, and we're seeing a lot of people in government starting to make some calls to say we've got to make sure we block this. Now, I actually would be okay if they just block DeepSeek entirely to the servers itself. Now, leave the models up there for us to download and use. Great. That doesn't really benefit DeepSeek much, other than hitting some interesting download numbers. So I'm actually a proponent of that, of seeing DeepSeek, get blocked from the U.S. because I'm not a fan of pumping all of our data into OpenAI. I actually don't really trust OpenAI either, or Google, or Meta, or all of them. If you're going to be using AI, download it into your servers, learn how to use it, or pay a developer who does know how to use it, and build a secure system. We've got to make sure that we're using this information and this power responsibly. LLMs are great tools, but you can't just be pumping data all the time into these systems and expecting that it's going to be safe. It's absolutely not. It's really easy to get the information out of this. Now, let's jump into this a little bit here, because one of the big questions is, does AI need all that money? Now, of course, all the tech giants are going to be saying yes. And it was funny because over the last 2 weeks, we saw Meta and Microsoft and NVIDIA and a lot of these other big companies kind of pause for just a second to say, are we going to continue to pump billions and billions of dollars? Because this number that DeepSeek threw out of 5.6 million really rattled a lot of people, rattled a lot of boards saying, wait a minute, there's an open source model out there. Why can't we just go download that and use that instead of paying billions of dollars to get this? So, now they're definitely, and the short answer to this is they're saying, absolutely, yes, we're going to continue to move forward, right? Satya Nadella says, as AI becomes more efficient and accessible, we'll see exponential more demand, right? So he's doubling down on it. Meta's promised $60 billion of spend. Microsoft's spending $80 billion. So the funny thing about them is this actually caused them to double down. So while they took a breath for a second and thought about that number, they still doubled down and actually went all in. Now, one person's entire fortune who will live or die with the superiority of American AI is Sam Altman. But don't worry about Sam Altman. I promise he's not going to go hungry, right? So I definitely think that this is something we've got to see some more responsible usage around. I've been a big fan of these small LLMs for a long time. I think there's a lot we can do with them. I think with correct training and building agents to do specific things, you can do a ton of responsible things with AI. I think feeding an $80 billion beast is ridiculous. I think the private sector needs to come out and show and continue to work to build great tools around specific use cases of these LLMs to solve specific problems. Quit spending $100 billion a year. The entire sector is spending almost $1 trillion a year trying to get to AGI. And it's a joke. We've been trying to solve this for a long time. And I think that what we're going to see is I think we're going to continue to see a failure of that, because I do think that ultimately AI is a great tool. I think there's a lot of really good use cases that we can use for it. But these small models have got to be worked on. And there's a way that we can make efficiency the priority. And that's what I really want to see. I want to see money goes into the developers rather than just pumping more money into hardware, larger models, and on this hope that maybe we can try to alleviate some humans. Why don't we actually use those humans and build some good development, right? So the AI landscape is still a little bit of the Wild West. I do think we're starting to trend toward the trough of disillusionment, because even in the last 2 weeks, while there's been a lot of hype to DeepSeek, we've seen, wow, this is a really impressive model. But really impressive meant a couple percentages different than the previous model. Now, I've been out on X a lot with a lot of people being like, oh, you developers, you're going to be out of a job, right? And I just kind of laugh at this, because this is the same people. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and of the technologies that he builds. I drive a Tesla, have since 2020, bought FSD with it. And yet we were promised FSD would be driving me around by the end of 2020. It's 2025 and I still don't have even FSD 13, which version 13, which I've been hoping for. So my point to this is that while we see this and while there is some very interesting things coming, when the calculator came out in the 60s, everybody said mathematicians were going to be out of jobs. And yet today, mathematicians are some of the highest paid degrees coming out of college. So I think there's a lot that we can do. We need to be focusing on smaller models because they show a lot of efficiency and a lot of promise. There's a lot we can do with a small model packaged to do a very specific use case. I think the industry giants are going to continue to pump more money into this because that work looks good for their stock. So if you're Satya Nadella and you're wanting Microsoft to spend $80 billion, why do you want to do that? Because you want to be able to continue to spend that money and be the first to some of these new things. So I think we really got to start, and what my big plug here is efficiency. Let's work on these smaller models. Let's work on these open source models. The one thing I really love that has happened over the last 2 weeks is it's brought light to what an open source model is and what it can do for us. You can download these models. You can do a lot with them. I hope you like and subscribe to the channel because I've shown how you can load up DeepSeek and run it on a Raspberry Pi, which costs $100. You can pay $100, get a Raspberry Pi, and start running the DeepSeek 1.5 billion model on it. Is it going to, run everything? No, but I mean, it's a good model and you can start doing some development against it. $1,000 machine with a decent graphics card can actually produce an internal tool that could be used by a few hundred people in an internal company. We don't need to be spending $30,000 on an H100 and all the energy that's going to go with it. I think there's a lot that we can do moving forward with these great tools that are being provided with LLMs. It's not going to replace developers. Will it affect some jobs? Absolutely. But just the same way that we've seen automation happen since the Industrial Revolution, humans are still finding plenty of jobs. So this is going to allow us to level up, specialize, and become better. Now, what are your thoughts? I love to have a great discussion, so make sure to leave a comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe. Here at Startup Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps. So reach out because we can help you get for most people, we can get the cost covered for you, but we love to train you and then help you get out into the job field where we also build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out because we'd love to help, and we've got a great offer for you here at the end.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Starter Pack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out starterpack.com to code